We're here on the island of Maui at the University of Hawaii Maui's campus. So thank you for UH for allowing us to use their facilities. I call this meeting to order at this time. Commissioner Ronnie Barra.
Present.
Commissioner Mark Brown. Me.
Here.
Thank you. Commissioner Martha Tournay.
Present.
Commissioner Mike Town is excused
No,
today.
he's here.
Is he?
He was on the list, yeah. So Mike, are you still here?
Commissioner Mark Patterson, I'm here. So we have four, at least present right now, until we can recognize Mike might be online. That being said, we do have quorum. Commissioners, can we take a look at the minutes of May 8, 2025? Can I get a motion to accept?
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved by Commissioner Tournay and seconded by Commissioner Ibarra that we accept the meetings of May 8, 2025. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor say aye.
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 All opposed say same. Any abstentions? Motion passed. Ronnie, can you test your mic?
Mark Brownie, can you hear us?
Yeah, I can hear you guys.
Touch your mic, please. We're trying to, try again, responding.
I can hear you.
We still can't hear you. George is trying to work it out.
Okay.
Can you try again, Judge Brown?
Yes, I'm here.
We can hear you now.
Thank you, Judge. I wasn't sure if I heard it, an affirmative for the minutes from you.
Yeah, I
Okay.
approve.
Thank you. We'll move forward on the item agenda number 4. We have the monthly update from the Department of Corrections and Rehabilitation. Sana, will you be giving that for Director Johnson today?
Good morning, everybody. I will be. Director Johnson is currently out of state at a conference. I'll be providing his report for him. I apologize in advance. I'm fighting a cold, so I apologize in advance if I go through coughing fits. And Mark, I'm sorry. I might have not heard you. You want me to go ahead with the report now?
Greeting you, good morning, and the floor is yours.
Okay. Thank you. So for OCCC, there's no changes at this time. The department received a $30 million request to continue the planning and design to include the RFQ and RFP process. DCR will receive the $15 million on July 1st of this year and the remaining $15 million on July 1st of 2026. That's all I have for OCCC's report. I think that there was going to be, you wanted information regarding lockdowns in our facilities. So some of the reasons for the lockdowns in the facilities is that we'll have facilities such as for contraband. Some of these searches will also include the use of the K9 units. There's also lockdowns after a serious incident. So a housing unit, a housing module, or entire facility can be locked down temporarily to ensure that the situation is stable and safe before returning to normal operations. Also, as you all know, we also have staffing shortages, so that can result in the temporary lockdowns also. And some of the, there's not enough staff to conduct some of the normal operations like programs, visitations, recreation. Sorry. Some of the, you guys are aware that we have the ACO shortage. Even with our aggressive recruitment efforts, we still have issues with staff calling in sick, having approved, Family Medical Leave Act, people being on annual vacation or military leaves. So when we're short staffed, obviously, there's times we have to lock the facility down temporarily. And the sick calls sometimes, there's times when those sick calls during certain times can, reach 40 to 60% levels. And just to let you guys know, Director Johnson has a meeting with UPW scheduled for July 7th to try to reach a memorandum of understanding that they can agree upon and execute regarding the ACO work attendance. And we just want to make sure that it's clear. The department recognizes the majority of our staff are hardworking, dedicated ACOs, and they show up, and they're often having to stay over for those that do not show up. And this is creating exhaustion for our workforce. There's morale issues for those people who are having to work these extended shifts. And during those times, it places the safety of the staff and those in our custody and care at risk. We are, as a result of our vacancies, and sorry, sorry about that. As a result of our vacancies, which we are steadily reducing, and the ACO callouts for the sick leave and FMLA, the overtime costs have reached unsustainable levels. An example is OCCC during the calendar year 2024, our overtime costs exceeded $7.75 million, which is approximately $21,232 per day. To address the ACO shortages, you guys are aware we're increasing our recruit classes. So last year, in 2023, we held four classes. Last year, we held 6 classes, and this year, with the inclusion of the Big Island classes, we're expected to hold 8 total classes, which would help us with the vacancies. And the DCR is also discussing ACO incentive programs with both UPW and DHERD, but more discussions between them are needed. That's the only report I have so far. Thank you.
Sana, this is Martha. I do have one question. Oh, I'm so sorry for you. And that has to do with I know that hiring is a very difficult process right now, that you're not having people apply as much as you like. And also, I don't know about the background check, but that may also be watching out people. But I know you're saying we're having a lot of classes. I want to know, are you having people that are going to be in those classes? Are you getting the applicants?
Actually, so in 2023, right, we hired 56 ACOs.
And that's partly for the bench.
Sorry, in 2024, we hired 136. So far, we've hired 58 for this year, and tomorrow we graduate another 12. I don't think we have had a lot of interest, and we have had, with the increase of classes and the number of ACO recruits, we are, slowly, chipping away at that vacancy rate.
Okay, that's good enough. I don't want to stress you. I'm sorry.
Thank you. Sorry about that.
Commissioner Browning, any comments?
Your mic is not on?
Sorry.
Hold on, or
I'm
else.
I'm so sorry about your cold, but I have a couple questions.
Hold on,
Yeah.
Judge. Before the commissioners begin on discussing, I'll ask for any public testimony at this time.
Okay, thank you.
And any public that wishes to have a remark or testimony on the current report given by VCR, signal by raising their hand or digital hand or wave it. Seeing none, go ahead, Judge Brown.
I was wondering, the most recent lockdown that occurred at OCCC, how long did that last?
I'm sorry, Judge. Which lockdown are you referring to? Do you have a date?
It was last month, I believe. At least it was reported by the media.
Sorry, Judge. I asked because I would have to go back and check, and I'll be able to respond to you after I check in with the facility and get that answer for you.
Okay, and the second question, if you could follow up for me in writing too, is what was the reason for the lockdown?
I will get that information for you, Judge.
Thank you, ma'am. I'm so sorry about your call.
Judge Ibarra?
I have no questions. Thank you, Sana.
No more.
Thank you, Sana. Let's see if I have a comment.
You're welcome.
Just a statement, yeah, based on the, as a former correctional officer and a captain. Talk about lockdowns, it's normally a system or process that we utilize in order to react to a situation that requires staffing. Yeah, so either we need staffing at a certain location because of an incident or because of a contraband that needs to be found because it's a threat to the safety of the environment. They will lock the facilities and pool staff to deal with the situation. Yeah, and once that's done, then it reopens. But it's also used because you don't have staff. Yeah, staffing is always key to our lockdown situations. And lockdown normally means stop all business. Yeah, so it's detrimental to programs such as visiting and educational and et cetera, treatment, counseling, all of that comes to a stop. Talking about this, because when we talk about attendance and we're talking about recruitment, when we have conversations with UPW, there should be separate conversations. Attendance, retention, and recruitment is one conversation, not separate conversations. Because in order for attendance to improve, there needs to be incentives. Incentives will help with retention, and retention and health plans, et cetera, will help with recruitment. We need to look at all of those three issues as a single issue to improve the professional development of correctional officers and staff. Yeah, that they be given what they deserve to work in one of the most toxic environments that they have to go through every day. So just a statement that I want to say, and where we're feeling, and we will probably follow up later, that attendance, retention, and recruitment is a single conversation. Yeah, it should not be separated. Yeah. So thank you, Sana, for your presence. Appreciate you. Take care of yourself. Okay.
Thank you, everybody. And Judge Browning, when I respond to the commission regarding your question, I'll also include the additional information on the lockdown reasons, as Mark indicated, the search for the contrabands, and just give a little bit more context to my report. I'm sorry, I'm cutting it short to save you guys the pain of having to listen to me.
No, thank you very much, son. I appreciate it very much. Take care of yourself.
Great service. Agenda item number 5, Connecting Families Campaign presentation. What was important in the work that we do in corrections is how do we unify and restore and build families back together. So, Worth Rises, are you present?
Aloha, thank you so much for having me. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Aloha.
Okay, awesome. I'm going to try to share this. I'm going to try to share my screen so that you can see the presentation. Okay. Yes, I'm Selena Chapin. I'm the Chief Advocacy Officer at Worth Rises.
Okay, thank you.
So Worth Rises, for those of you who are unfamiliar, is a nonprofit organization that is dedicated to ending the exploitation of incarcerated people and their families across the United States, especially folks who are disproportionately impacted. You know, those are Black, Brown, and Native communities. And we have helped pass and implement free prison and jail communication policies in several states across the country, and in some counties as well, including the Federal Bureau of Prisons. And also for the past 2 sessions, we have partnered with local organizations in Hawaii and other community members who are impacted by the carceral system to work to make prison communication free for Hawaiian families who have an incarcerated family member. And the bill, unfortunately, did not pass the last couple of years. Primarily, this most recent session was due to a misunderstanding. Some victim advocacy groups wrongly believed that it would defund the SAVIN system. I'm going to get into it in a couple of slides, but the newly passed FCC regulations actually defund the SAVIN system and require the DOC to find alternative funding for SAVIN. So I'll get there in a little bit. But first I want to kind of talk about why free communication is so important. Right now, $1.3 million is spent by families in Hawaii each year just to stay connected to their incarcerated loved ones. That ends up being really, really steep for families of incarcerated people. A study found that 1 in 3 families with an incarcerated loved one go into debt over trying to stay connected alone. And 87% of those impacted are women and disproportionately Native families. This has a huge, huge impact on children in particular. Myself, my mom is formerly incarcerated. I can tell you that being able to contact your family member, especially when you are a kid and you can't work and you can't make money and your incarcerated family member is behind walls, they also can't make any money. It makes all of the difference in the world, both for that child's outcome as they grow up and also for that parent to be able to stay connected and have a successful reentry. So it has a huge, huge impact on the family. So now I'm going to jump into the FCC regulations because this presentation is both kind of about the campaign and why it's so important for people inside of prison to be able to call their family members outside and vice versa, but also about the FCC regulations, which we hope that Hawaii kind of prioritizes implementing as soon as possible, regardless of what happens with legislation. So under the new FCC regulations, correctional telecom vendors must cap prison phone rates at 6 cents per minute and video rates at 16 cents per minute. They must eliminate all deposit and ancillary fees, and they must end all commission arrangements. So, you know, that encompasses all kinds of things, but for Hawaii, it encompasses the SAVIN system. So under the FCC regulations, it is illegal for Hawaii to take any commission, including funding SAVIN. And also they cannot charge agencies directly for most security and surveillance services. You know, we don't charge incarcerated people for security for them to have an in-person visit. So it doesn't make a lot of sense to then do that for, you know, security for phone calls and things like that. There was a bit of a misunderstanding. It seemed like Hawaii would have had to go into compliance at the end of this year because of when their contract was formed and expired. So it's kind of like a timeline thing. However, because Hawaii's telecom contract has a change in law provision, Hawaii was supposed to be in compliance on January 1st of this year. So Hawaii has been out of compliance for 6 months at this point, which, you know, we believe is detrimental to families. There's a reason why the FCC passed these regulations. And we understand the misunderstanding. The FCC document regulations are very, very long, and this change of law provision is in a footnote, but still does require Hawaii to have been in compliance already. And as far as we know, it is not. Why Hawaii must act now? Families in Hawaii are uniquely disconnected from their incarcerated loved ones. I talked about why it's so important to be able to have that contact. It's especially important in Hawaii because many incarcerated people in Hawaii are incarcerated far away from their families. Some are also incarcerated in the United States, making it particularly difficult for people to have those in-person visits. And families are increasingly struggling to bear the burden of exorbitant communication costs. And now, like I said, SAVN is operating in violation of federal regulations and risks legal challenge and also defunding. We certainly, when we were advancing this legislation over the last couple of years, we were urging the Department of Corrections to find alternative funding for SAVN because we also want SAVN to be funded. The new FCC regulations already require the DCR to take on many of the costs currently embedded in prison communication services, and in doing so, limit the fiscal impact of making communication fully free. So my point to this presentation is that I hope that you all will support Connecting Families legislation in the 2026 session. We do hope to reintroduce it, but also to urge the DCR to bring its telecom contract into compliance with the FCC regulations immediately. Yeah, I'm happy to take any questions. I'm going to stop sharing my screen. Stop sharing. And again, I really, really appreciate your time.
Any public testimony on the presentation that was just signal I did hand or a.
For some reason, I can't hear you very well. Will you repeat that?
I mean, that's
You have a question? You want to say it, Mr. Moore?
related to this.
Sure.
If this is already an FCC passed regulation, why are we not in compliance? There's a lot of lawyers and judges in the room. Thank you. Maybe do we have to wait for a legislative session to act on this? No, right?
I would think no, since it's included in the contract, that a change in law would require us to change, require the provider to change. We don't have the answer to that question right now, Tony. We'll find out.
Okay. Thank you.
I just wanted to do a brief comment. Sorry.
Go ahead, son.
Hi, Selena. We met with Selena before the legislative session. It's nice to see
It's
you.
good to see you again. I'm so sorry that you're sick.
Thank you. So just to let you know, we have a meeting with the VIPAT company August 5th, at which time we'll be reviewing or discussing our contract that, like Selena indicated, ends at the end of this year. We've discussed it with our Attorney General's office, and according to our Attorney General's office, we do have till December 31st of this year to bring ourselves into compliance. We are already in compliance with the telephone calls. The federal federally it's required that you can't charge more than 6 minutes. We charge under that, so it's I think 5.054 cents per minute. Our video calls are the ones that we have to move, change from 25 cents to 16 cents to meet federal regulations. And I do want to let everybody know that every inmate does get 5 free minutes of phone calls every week that they're allowed to use. Thank you.
How many minutes do they get per week? I'm sorry, I missed that part.
Sorry, Kristen, I didn't hear you.
How, how many, free minutes do people in custody get per week?
Five.
5 minutes, right? 5 minutes, okay. Fine. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that comment as well. I will kind of maybe be in touch with you. Not kind of, I will be in touch with you offline. Like I said before, the previous understanding was that Hawaii had until December to the end of the year. But we've been in many conversations with the FCC, where this is cited in the FCC document regulations over 100 times. And they have confirmed that due to that footnote and the change of law provision, Hawaii is no longer, as previously thought, eligible for the extension until December. But I will connect again with the DCR and we can sort that out.
We'll also circle back to our AG's office.
Carrie Ann, comment, Carrie Ann?
Yes, aloha everyone. Carrie Ann Shirosa from ACLU Hawaii. Thank you so much, Selena, for your presentation. This is a really important legislation. And so I have some comments and maybe some questions. The question is maybe for clarification for all of the community. I understand that the Department of Corrections, that they're charging a rate that's less than what FCC is mandating under rules. But is it the point of this legislation to make the phone calls free? Because rather than even if it's under the amount, the goal of this legislation is to make it free. As you mentioned, if people are visiting in person, but some people cannot make it to the facility, sometimes they can't afford the cost of a plane ticket from Maui to visit their loved one in Honolulu at Halava or Women's, or when they're transferred out of state to Saguaro. So if you could please clarify that point. And then I guess the second point is I'm asking the commission if the commission is willing to take a position in support of this legislation before the next session. And then we also have, I think, one or more lawmakers here with us. What can lawmakers do to help advance this legislation in the next session? So thank you, Selena.
Yes, so the legislation does make phone calls free. Like I said before, even a few cents makes a huge difference when you are inside and you can't work, or when you are outside and you've, for one thing, lost lost someone who could potentially be making money for your family, or you're a kid and you cannot make any money. And children really shouldn't have to ration out minutes or how much they can talk to their family. Sometimes you need to be able to call your parent. So yes, thank you so much for that question and clarification, Carrie Ann.
Someone else has their hand up? Anybody else?
Sure.
Okay.
We're gonna move on to the commission discussion. Commissioner Browning, any comments?
You're muted.
Yeah, wait a minute. Mark, you muted.
No.
Kat,
I'm sorry.
Kat had a
I
comment.
think that
We allow one testimony. We call upon you. You gave one already, Tony. So
Right.
moving on.
Kat's trying to flag you guys down. She's not able to speak yet.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Okay, hold on. Kat? Sorry, I didn't see you on the screen, Kat.
Hold on, George is getting to you.
Can you unmute your mic, Kat?
Skip a page.
Okay, we can see you now. Let's see if we can hear you, Kat. No, we can't hear you yet.
It says,
Hold on.
it says that you're muted.
No. We're getting
You
used
have
to
to
this Teams.
unmute yourself, Kat.
Yeah, but he also has to unmute her.
Yes, unmute yourself.
Oh, you have to do it. You have to unmute yourself, Kat, according to George. No, you can't get, very frustrating.
On the corner.
Yeah, I see it.
He's trying hard, but he's not successful. I'm very sorry.
No, it's Kat. Kat, yeah, do you have an icon that shows that your microphone's not on?
It's supposed to be on.
Oh, that's not good. It's-
Yeah.
George has on our side.
Okay,
You're-
I'm there.
Yes.
All right. Thank you, Selena. I really appreciate the Worth Rises presentation and working with us for several years to actually bring justice to people inside. I can't overestimate how important it is to be able to connect. You know, when somebody is incarcerated, it is not one person, it is their whole family. And we need to, especially in Hawaii, we're family centric. We need to actually facilitate this as much as possible. I know so many adults whose parents were in prison when they were kids, and it has lifelong impacts because they missed so much with their parent. And I just want to underscore and beg the commission to support this. It is so important. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Kat.
Good to hear your voice, Kat.
Okay, we'll go ahead and move on. Back to you, Commissioner Brown.
Make sure we can hear him.
Got
I
All
you.
think
right,
it's-
we can.
Yes. I think it's eminently important and reasonable and compassionate and sensible for all the reasons stated to support this bill. And I would urge other commissioners to lend their support.
I just want to remind the commissioners that, for the past 2 years, we've supported this bill. We've submitted, written testimony, and I think we've also testified in person in supporting this bill.
Yeah, I join Commissioner Brown in important that we support this bill. Hopefully someday it'll pass soon.
And again, we have supported this in the past. I've been the testifier at times. We understand as a commission very much the importance of those family connections.
It's a picture of personal phone calls within the correctional setting based off of my experiences. You know, the 2 in the afternoon to 10 o'clock at night shift is mostly when all the phone calls are made. People are working and the kids are in school. Yeah. You can have a 2 to 10 o'clock time period when you try to make your phone calls. The old days, the 2 to 10 was a very unpopular shift because that's all the ACOs did, or personal phone call. You would get the list with the individual and the phone number, you make the call, you make the contact, and then you transfer it to the phone for the offender to use. Okay, then you have to time them, and then try to get them off after 10 minutes, and then do the next one, right? Because in a housing setting, you know, you try and be fair so everybody has usage of the phone, and one guy doesn't monopolize the phone for an hour, or one group don't monopolize the phone. So it was a tedious task, you know. In Halaba, on a single shift, you can do between 40 to 50 phone calls in an 8-hour period. A block of 120, you would have 4 phones available. Yeah, and so that's just to share the logistics of making a phone call. When they bought in the new system, all the officer did was control the power. So he would call the individual up to make the phone call, he turned on the power, he picked it up, the operator came on and charged his DK. So it was way easier than what we were having to do it ourselves. But that being said, just giving you a picture of how phone calls are doing, because you still have to manage the phone to make it fair and accessible to everyone. And normally a block of 100, not everybody's going to make the phone call on a Monday. So you're going to separate it into groups: Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Normally phone calls are not on the weekends. So that's a system that was in place, 25, 30 years ago. With that being said, that's just processes and procedures that can be worked out and improved by the individual facilities based on their housing unit. I'm just sharing you a picture of it's not just as easy as someone to go over there, pick up a phone and make a phone call. There's a lot of things to consider in regards to the security and the usage of the phone. With that being said, I still support strongly that the communication should be free. I do believe in everything that Worth rises. You can have the negative and the positive of phone calls in regards to coded talk and trafficking of narcotics and all kinds of crazy stuff. But I think the good outweighs the bad at this particular point in regards to our long-term rehabilitative goals in terms of the united family and providing re-entry opportunities for our offenders this time. So that's my final say on it.
I just want to make one other comment is I want to see that expanded to the video calls, especially parents with their children really want to be able to see them for free, be able to have these video calls so they can see their children and their children can see them.
Thank you very much, Elena, for being here. Appreciate it. I know you'll be available if we have any more further questions. Thank you for the work.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me. Thank you for the work that you do. And yes, please reach out if you have any questions at all.
Thank you. Our next agenda item, number 6, discussion on Senate Bill 104. This is on our agenda because it has to do with restrictive housing. I know Kat has a lot to say about this.
We have a lot to say.
We have a lot to say about this too, but it's on the agenda because there is a public announcement of the governor's intent to veto this bill. And so at this time, we'll take some public testimony on the subject before the commissioners begin their discussion. Go ahead.
Yes, I have a lot to say. I have a lot to say about this. There have been so many deaths in solitary segregation, and the department has testified that, Hawaii has this unique thing. We put somebody in disciplinary segregation. They're in there for 30 days, which should be 15. And they come out for a day, and then they're in admin segregation, and they go back and forth. And this session, actually, the department testified, we don't do that. And yet I got a call from Saguaro where a man I've been speaking to for about 20 years said, I just saw my friend and he was out of segregation. So the next day I went to find him and he wasn't there. And he apparently went back to another form of segregation. So we need truth. We need honesty. It is very difficult for the community to say things and then hear the department say, oh, we don't do that anymore, when I'm talking to people who are incarcerated who are telling me this is happening. So I don't know how to get the truth from the department, but it's really impacting how people view the government, that there's no trust there. And I beg you, too many people have died and under this current administration. And yet they're very slow to actually release the reasons. And under a former AG who said, well, that's part of HIPAA and we're not allowed to. I'm like, HIPAA is about healthcare. These people are dead and their families and their friends have a right to know what happened. So I don't know how we can do this, but we need truth. Thank you.
Anybody else?
We
Yes.
can't see everybody on the screen, so we don't know who's raising their hand. I see Carrie Ann wants to speak.
Okay, thank you so much, Martha. So just to reiterate, ACLU of Hawaii strongly supports SB 104. We have reached out to the governor and have strongly encouraged him not to veto this measure. We would like to point out, in addition to the commission, CAP, ACLU, there are a number of community organizations that support this measure, including the Office of Hawaiian Affairs, Unlock the Box, which is a national organization, and many of you may have seen that there were two medical providers experts who weighed in with an op-ed piece urging Governor Green to not veto this measure. The fact that it's on there is quite baffling. I think what was more even troubling is that part of the rationale, it seems to be pointing fingers to suggest as if the Oversight Commission is not supporting the bill, which is factually erroneous. You've supported this bill throughout the session, and I think that record needs to be made clear. And I think this is almost like a line in the sand for ACL of Hawaii. Governor has announced that we are a trauma-informed care state, and to not have guardrails and restrictions on solitary confinement, and to not have these rules apply both in our jails and prisons and out-of-state private prisons is unconscionable and would be trauma-inducing. And so we just continue to sort of reach out to our community here. If anyone has not had the chance to reach out to the governor, now is the time to do so. He has until July 9th. And we thank you again, Commission, for strongly standing in support of these much overdue needed statute and regulations to prevent deaths and all sorts of harm. Thank you.
Can you see any other hands up?
I would love to hear any comments from Rep. Bellotti.
No, we're not gonna call people out in the meeting who attended this meeting. This is a safe space for all participants, so we're not gonna call other people out.
I'm not meaning it in a negative way at all. I know her.
No more public testimony at this time. Let's see, Joe. Mr. Farnado.
Oh, yeah, I got a lot. You know, the first person that brought the attention of how dangerous isolation was in corrections to the attention of people in government in the United States was Charles Dickens in 1842. And we all know it can be very harmful to people to be in isolation for a long time. It is so harmful, but it's so hidden in corrections that more than 20 states have already passed legislation to control this, to ensure that this hidden practice comes out in the open, and it is the legislature and law that is controlling how long people can go in. One thing I noticed, we visit the correctional facilities, and before Warden Shell arrived at OCCC, the holding unit there has 36 cells in it. It was built in 1936 and 36 cells. And the first time that we visited, they were only the first floor was being used, and they were single cell. The second time we visited after the warden arrived, the place was full and some of the cells were even double cell. We were told the reason that happened was because of gang activity. I don't know what it is, but that change was black and white. It totally changed it. I'm very concerned about the kind of people sent in their cells. But it's not only the people that are in special holding, it's not only the disciplinary and the management cells, it is people who are living in their regular cells. At OCCC, when we were visiting one time, in the corner cells in one of the modules, I believe it was module 11, which is a little bit larger than other cells. I think it's got 120 square feet. There were 5 inmates living in that module, in that cell. And they said they were out of their cell for not more than 4 hours a day. They came out to eat their meals, and they came out 1 hour in the morning and 1 hour later in the day. So that means 20 hours a day. 5 people are locked in 120 square feet. And we wonder why we have problems with mental health or exacerbating mental health problems and an increase in suicides. And I am very disturbed that the governor is considering vetoing this bill. I'm off my soapbox.
Commissioner Browning?
I agree with Commissioner Torney. You know, I think all of us have been deeply troubled by the number of times we have walked into facilities and gone through them and come upon a situation where, as our last visit on the Big Island, as I recall, there were about 4 inmates who were not in formal segregation, not in any kind of formal status, but they were kept in their cells for 23 hours and allowed to come out to watch, not to go outside, but to watch whatever was on the television set that was up above near the ceiling. You know, and I want to say I appreciate all the problems that the Department of Corrections has. We understand that, and but that doesn't mean that we sacrifice our humanity and our values and what we consider important, particularly with the legacy of Hawaii and Hawaiian culture that we have. And so I talked to those young men, and other commissioners talked to those young men, and I have to say that, you know, I was deeply affected, somewhat. I mean, I'm just going to use the word traumatized, bothered by that experience. I don't know how anybody stays sane in that situation. I don't know how anybody stays sane. I don't know how you come out of that particular situation and find any way towards a path of rehabilitation. I don't know how any of that helps our community. You know, I believe we have a wonderful community. I really do. I think we have great values, but I don't think that we live them if we turn a blind eye to these types of situations. So thank you for the opportunity. I'm sorry I went on too long.
Well, yeah, I agree. We supported this bill previously, and my position still remains the same. And certainly, I understand corrections. They have to deal with a certain situation which warrant restricted housing. But let's bring it all out. You know, be transparent about it. You need to administer the population and things like that. So I'm not saying that absolutely no restricted housing. All I'm saying is let's bring it out. Let's set some guidelines, and the public and everyone participate, the stakeholders, to address the problem Martha brought out, Judge Browning brought out as far as too much restricted housing. So I think it can be a balanced way to address public safety's concern, as well as treating the inmates with compassion and not forgetting that we're all human beings. And they're going to come out someday, and basically we have to focus on the rehabilitation and recognizing what public safety or correction has to do with also. So I think it can be resolved through a balanced approach that's addressed through transparency.
Then, Lottie, do you have something you want to speak?
Thank you, Chair Patterson. Thank you, commissioners. This is my first attendance at this Oversight Commission meeting, and I apologize that I'm not familiar with the rules. As a public member, I don't take any offense to any questions being asked of me. And if it's appropriate, I will comment on the agenda item, which I believe is Senate Bill 104. I am supportive of the passage of this bill. You know, I've been speaking about it with my colleagues, and I think in good faith, there was a lot of effort put into this. I am especially excited about the working group that is embedded in this bill. So until the July 9th deadline, you can be rest assured that I am supportive of this, and I think we need to move forward with the work that needs to be done, and that we need some of the basic guardrails in this bill. I will say one thing about this bill that we did purposefully was that the provisions in this bill do not need to be implemented actually until July 2026. And the reason for that, the reason why I put that in there in that manner was because if there's anything in the legislation that would cause any implementation problems, we could address that within the legislative session. So that the department would not be unnecessarily curtailed. We're in a situation where lockdowns and segregation and solitary confinement is used. So what I want to make sure is that we have some guardrails in place, that we do allow the time for the department to implement what needs to happen. And so I think there's enough flexibility in the bill to both implement some guardrails that we in the community has long advocated for, as well as create a space where we can talk about more provisions around the treatment of those with serious mental illness. And so for those reasons, I'm very supportive of this bill passing, and that's what I can share. So I take no offense to the question being asked, but I do want to respect the protocols, the sunshine rules around commission hearing, which I frankly am not familiar with. So thank you, Chair, for this opportunity to comment on this agenda item.
George has one more. Carolyn.
Carolyn, you have a comment?
And you still look muted, Carolyn.
I do have a comment. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
I hope the governor will change his mind and sign it. If he's listening to the one testifier, the Department Corrections and Rehabilitation, the one testifier who testified against this. I guess there was somebody from Waikiki who may have testified against it. I was there in the room at one of the hearings. And I agree with Commissioner Browning that to live by our values, it has to change now, not in 26. This director of corrections needs to be replaced, frankly. Thank you for the time.
Thank you, Carolyn, for the comments. Today's meeting is drawing a lot of memories for me. So sorry if I keep on bringing it up. I spent 12 years as an ACO 3, and 8 of those years were in segregated units. Yeah. And so in your segregated units, there are a multitude of classifications being housed in 23-hour lockdown. Yeah. And you're talking about normally unmanageable situations or individuals that we're trying to figure out, the facility's trying to figure out how to manage. So you will have the most volatile mental health. Yeah. So you put them in a secured setting because you have safety issues for his safety and for the safety of the general population. Yeah. You'll have issues with behavior component, yeah, which can be disciplinary or gang related, yeah, administrative segregation. You can have individuals requesting protection, yeah, or what we call protective custody. And then, of course, I mentioned you'll have classification issues, which is maximum close custody. Because of their points, they're housed in that type of setting. Now, I want to agree a lot with what Judge Ibarra said. There is need for this type of restrictive housing. And from my perspective, it's really to have a place and space to manage a situation that has gone out of control, that we can place a body till we figure out how we're going to manage it. Yeah. The problem is we think it's the end solution and they get left there. Yeah. We have to understand that they have to be managed once we put them into that situation, and there needs to be oversight. Correctional officers do not put individuals into restrictive housing. Those are administrative decisions. Yeah, from the level of captain and above to warden. Yeah, and so there needs to be intentional focus from administration. If you're going to put a body into restrictive housing, what are you doing to manage it? Yeah, what are the safeguards? What are the protocols to assure that at the specific time frames, what's being done? And sometimes, Kat, and I agree with you, it is a simple solution to take them off of disciplinary after 15 days, put them on ad-seg, so you meet the 15-day mark, and then put them back on another 15 after that. That's practice. Yeah, that I've seen in the past. We're talking about now. So, with that being said, there needs to be oversight on restrictive housing and a better process to understand that it is a temporary solution while we work on a potential solution. And I've seen guys in restrictive housing for years, literally years. So that's my comment. We want to continue to encourage the governor. Do we have a date on when this is supposed to happen?
The 15th.
I thought it was 6 or 9.
In July.
Yeah.
July.
Which is next week.
July 9th.
Yes, July 9th.
Have we already gave any kind of response to the governor on reaffirming our position?
So, yes, standard practice of the governor's office when a bill is vetoed is to reach out to the different agencies who shared any view on it. And so we were invited to speak with the governor's policy team, and Commissioner Torney and I did that together. And so we did reiterate the importance of this bill and a few concerns that we had actually specifically with the veto language. One of the areas that was noted in the veto language was that the department's current restrictive housing policy is in alignment with federal standards. We found that that's not accurate. That's not an accurate statement. There's still many things that should be updated and added to make it in alignment with federal standards, including ACA standards. And then obviously it also talked about how, the department is willing to work with the commission, to update those policies to make the process better. And although I appreciate that sentiment, one thing we make clear is that we've been reporting on this for years. We've been reporting consistently on our concern of individuals being locked down. And again, not just individuals in actual restrictive housing, but individuals in general population being locked in for 22 hours a day, 23 hours a day, et cetera. And so we made it very clear that we appreciate the sentiment. We want to work with the department. There's no doubt about that. But I guess this request for a partnership is a little unclear for me because we have been reporting out on this consistently. We haven't seen change within that time frame of individuals being let out of their cells more than what we're seeing now. And a friendly reminder to everybody watching, we go into the facilities consistently. This is not a once a year thing for us. We're in the facilities and collectively as staff and commissioners every month, and then staff goes into the facilities more. So to answer your question, yes, we did speak to the governor's office about all of this and all of our concerns, and it's our hope that the bill will be passed and we can move forward.
Thank you, Kristen. Appreciate all of that. Great discussion. We'll move on to item number 7. Overview of Oversight Coordinator's report. Go ahead, Kristen. Thank you.
Right. Hello, everyone. My name is Kristen Johnson. I'm the Oversight Coordinator. For those of you who may be unfamiliar with the meeting, this is a report that we are required by law to put out every month, and it just covers all the actions that the Commission and the office has taken in the previous month to be sure that we're keeping the public updated. One thing that we always report on is death in custody. And so I do want to note to the commissioners, I have a late notice here from an April death that occurred. The department did notify us on time. I actually missed it in the last report, so I do apologize for that. But on April 12, 2025, at approximately 1:03 a.m., a 24-year-old Hawaiian male in custody was found unresponsive at the Hawaii Correctional Facility. 911 was called, and ACOs did immediately administer CPR. At approximately 2:01 a.m., EMS arrived and continued to administer CPR until approximately 2:28 a.m. Then the individual was unfortunately pronounced deceased. This incident does appear to be a suicide, which is the first apparent suicide of this year. The medical examiner will determine the official cause of death following an autopsy, which does include toxicology testing. And then we have 2 deaths in custody in May. On May 17, 2025, at approximately 6:50 a.m., a 29-year-old Micronesian male in custody was found unresponsive at the Hawaii Correctional Facility. The responding ACO immediately administered CPR, and 911 services were called. At approximately 7:17 a.m., EMS personnel arrived at the facility, but unfortunately at 7:54 a.m., the individual was pronounced deceased, and this appears to be the second apparent suicide this year. Again, an autopsy report will be conducted. Then third, on May 29, 2025, at approximately 10:12 a.m., DCR was notified that a 37-year-old Hawaiian male in custody was pronounced deceased while hospitalized at Palimami Hospital in the ICU. This individual was from Hawaii Correctional Facility and was hospitalized after staff found him in his cell under the influence of an unknown substance. CPR was conducted until EMS arrived to transport the individual to the hospital. And again, for this one, the medical examiner will determine the official cause of death. So we're sad to hear about all of those deaths in custody, and we'll continue to report any additionals coming out. For tours that we've completed, so staff had toured the Hope Center Ministries in Kailua. This is a faith-based residential recovery program that offers a structured 12-month model, including 24/7 peer-led support. It was a fantastic visit. Staff also attended the Hawaii State Hospital Resource Fair. This was a great opportunity for vendors and community members to come together. There was music played by patients and activities like sand art and plant medicine education. This was an event that was really focused on healing and integrating folks coming out of the state hospital back into the community. For events attended, staff attended the Hawaii Correctional Facility graduation ceremony, which occurred on May 8th. 9 individuals who are incarcerated received their Associate of Arts degrees in Business from Chaminade University. And so we congratulate those individuals and also really appreciate DCR's effort to partner with Chaminade. That's a really incredible program. And also that DCR allows family members to come to that graduation. It's a really special event. And so we appreciate their efforts with that. Staff also attended the Holly County Resource Fair. This was the first resource fair that was done on the Big Island for HCCC folks. So fantastic event. It went really well, and it sounds like there's going to be more coming soon. Staff also attended the quarterly forum for jail and prison oversight. That forum was really focused on the Prison Rape Elimination Act. The current federal administration, as most people are aware, has been taking down some really important
Documented
yeah,
information.
everything, right?
Yeah.
And so this forum was for oversight practitioners to come together and basically figure out how can we collect all these documents before they're removed so that you still have them to reference. And so luckily that was a successful effort. And even if it's removed from a federal site, we still have it. So it was a good event. And then lastly, Commissioner Patterson and I conducted a presentation to the annual Office of Public Defender Training Seminar. That was a really great event. We really just gave an idea of what our office is and what we see and the general concerns that we have about the facilities and the importance of what the public defenders do. And then we got to hear a lot of questions that they had. And so it was a really great event. And we're excited to continue to build our relationship with the public defender's office. And then for projects, really just the case management. We're excited for July 1 to come because as long as the budget bill is signed, we will be getting a new case management system, and I am wildly eager to start that process. We have our vendor lined up, and so, we just need the funding to move forward on that. And that's really, really going to help with our investigative processes. And for published reports, last month we did publish our report on the Hawaii Community Correctional Center site visit observation. And again, after these commissioners and staff collectively go to the facilities, and after those particular visits, we put out a report of findings, kind of covering what we saw, what our concerns are, good things that may have occurred, et cetera. And then most importantly, we post recommendations. And so this report included 4 recommendations that was included from previous reports, and then also 2 new recommendations. And so, again, that report, along with all of our other reports, can be found on our website. And other than that, that is it for the monthly oversight coordinator report. Thank you.
Okay, just gonna go and continue with Christian and item number 8, overview of the Hawaii Community Correctional Center tour and report that we did last month. Is there any public testimony on the annual for the oversight?
The monthly report.
Coordinator's monthly report? Community? Thank you. I'm going to take your silence as that our oversight coordinators are doing a good job in putting everything in the report that you don't have any questions. So thank you, Chris. And it is good. It's great reading, great transcripts. Now we'll move on to the overview of the Hawaii Community Correctional Center tour and report.
Okay. Thank you, Chair. So last month, the commission had toured the Hawaii Community Correctional Center, also known as KCCC. And there are some pretty interesting findings from this tour. One of the interesting things was that the population was lowered from this tour and last year's tour. The population was lowered by 26%, which made a huge impact for the facility and how they were able to manage the population. So we were really excited to see that drop. I do want to contribute at least some of that drop to the prosecutor. The Hawaii prosecutor, I think she does really fantastic work. She started a diversion program last year. I don't know if all of this has contributed to that, but I think diversion is important. I wanted to give her a shout out.
And also has a reentry staff position.
Yeah, yep, in the prosecutor's office. Yep, that's true. For ongoing construction projects, as we know, there have been a few going on in the last couple of years. The commission had visited, but this time the construction on the sewer main and the water main was completed, which means that that's no longer preventing the kitchen from being repaired or replaced. And also the holding units that previously were not able to be used are able to be used, which is great. The shipping container housing is no longer being used for housing. We were thrilled to see that. And again, that's because of that population drop. They didn't feel that they have to use that space. In Module A, we did have some folks report of spending 22 hours per day in their cell. They claim that this was due to staff shortages. And again, the commission does find this unacceptable. That's just too long. That's too long to be in a cell, especially in general population. In the holding cells, I want to read this part because this was really concerning to some commissioners. So within the holding cells, the commission observed a woman in a holding cell who staff reported had serious mental health needs. The commission is concerned that if the woman in custody is exhibiting mental health conditions, the conditions of the holding unit could potentially deteriorate her mental health condition further. Housing women in men's facilities severely limits the facility's abilities to ensure that women are in an environment that is more conducive to their rehabilitation. The commission is also concerned that this particular woman is not getting the out-of-cell time that she needs, as people with mental health conditions often require more supervision than those who do not have mental health conditions. The commission is concerned that extended periods of confinement in a holding cell could be detrimental to anyone's reported mental health condition. But of course, particularly to women being in a men's facility. And so I wanted to read that excerpt. I thought it was really important. In Module B, again, we talked to individuals and they're claiming that they are confined to their cells for 22 hours per day. The population in that space is improved since the last visit, and that they're housing 2 people per cell instead of more. But it's still concerning that the amount of out-of-cell time has not changed. Module C.
Yes, Module C.
Oh, thank you. So Module C, which was a really large dorm setting, ended up being closed. 1, in part due to the low population, but 2, actually due to low staffing. I did bring up to the staff that I was a little bit concerned that the dorm setting, right, like one of the more rehabilitative spaces, was the one that was closed. But they explained that the people who were eligible to be in that space, maybe 9 to 13, it just didn't make sense to have another officer posted there when they were so short on staff in general, which honestly did make sense to me. We actually did not receive any complaints from the cabin, and we didn't know any concerns. And again, with the kitchen is in dire need of replacements. We've talked about this. I think this is maybe the 4th time at this point that we brought this up. And so I do want to, we brought this up from the March 2023 tour, and also the 2024 visit, and now 2025. Now we have been told that there is a module system that was ordered, and it should be arriving to the facility soon if it hasn't arrived already. The staff there did have concerns on how it's going to make it there. Maybe you can explain that part a little better.
When we were there, the module kitchen was located in Los Angeles, getting ready, or maybe with Long Beach, getting ready to be loaded onto a barge. And the vehicle that was pulling it, the axles broke not once, but twice, and they had to keep on getting larger vehicles for it. We believe that it finally came onto the barge, that it was moved to Hawaii, but the staff was concerned once it got to Hawaii, it has to change barges, probably go on Young Brothers to get to the Willy Willy. And once it got to the Willy Willy, is the equipment on Kauai adequate enough to be able to haul these pieces out to the facility? So the staff was very concerned whether this was actually going to arrive at their facility. I'm not sure what the status is right now. I believe that it probably has arrived in Hawaii in the state. I don't know whether it's arrived in Kauai yet.
Yeah, so still very concerned about that situation. For staffing shortages, This has been another issue that we've been bringing up consistently, and one of the reasons why is when we did our very large staffing report where we surveyed almost 1,000 correction staff and went to every facility to talk to staff, KCCC was the most devastating. Staff were so burned out. Someone just didn't even want to talk to us. They had at that time been working consistent 24-hour shift. I think now, especially with a lower population, they're working 16 instead of 24s, but it's just very clear that they are so exhausted, so exhausted. And so one thing that the staff have brought up really consistently are 12-hour shifts. And so we have recommended that to the department in the past. We're recommending it again, because again, this is something coming directly from the staff and the administration at the facility, where they think that it's really going to make a difference for them and really help. And the bottom line for the commission is that what they're doing right now isn't working. And so for me, at least, I don't see the harm in even doing a pilot program for a month or 3 months just to see if it helps, get these staff to work, but also give them a break during the interim.
I just wanted to add to that, as we go from facility to facility, is at the Kauai facility that you can see the best relationship between the staff and the incarcerated population. So they're able to maintain that even though they are so very, very stressed out. So we would do whatever we could to help improve their conditions.
We really want
We
to help.
appreciate how they do care about what happens to those incarcerated.
Yes. Their restraint chair and wrap chair, we have reported about this previously, but today I'm happy to report that there's no longer a restraint chair at KCCC at all. So we really appreciate the department taking that concern seriously. For the wrap chair, we did note that we didn't see a log that's maintained for when an individual is put into the wrap chair. There should be a log that's specific to that. What we were told instead by staff is that they utilize kind of the priority system of reporting. The concern with that is that it can very easily get lost. It's not easy to track if that's the way it's being reported. And so, we do want to make sure that the department keeps that in mind and make sure they utilize a specific log for when that chair is used.
And the importance of a log is logs are pre-numbered pages. So you know that things are happening in this particular order. And the policy requires that certain people visit the unit at different times. If you do not have a log, you don't know that they were there at those times. Anybody can take a sheet of paper and submit it later and say, oh yeah, I was there. So I do wish they kept the log. You also need other documentation, but the log is very important.
So for previous recommendations to be considered by the Department of Corrections Rehabilitation. So again, these are recommendations we have put in our previous reports, but we continue to post them until we receive acknowledgement that either the department's not going to do it at all, or they're working on it, or accept wherever they are in that process. So number one is immediately prioritize the construction and replacement of KCCC kitchen as it poses a dangerous threat to individuals and staff being hurt due to its desperate condition. In the interim, must repair and maintain the current flooring. We do appreciate the department's effort in replacing the kitchen completely. I'm still concerned that the maintenance side of things has not occurred this entire time. Yes.
Maintenance is very, very important for the safety of both staff and the persons that are incarcerated at these facilities. And the response when we talked about this last time we got from the department was that because they're putting in a new kitchen, their DAX is responsible for the kitchen now, and the department has no control over it and can't do any maintenance. That is not true. That is not true at all. And that floor must be repaired so that people cannot fall through. Now, maybe by the time next week we talk about this, the new modular kitchen will be there and will be a moot point. But I want to make it very clear, maintaining a facility at least enough that you can maintain safety is very, very important.
Second recommendation that was previously posted is to ensure individuals in the facility are receiving the most out of cell time possible in alignment with the rehabilitative and therapeutic environment. So again, consistently for years, folks have been reporting 22-hour-a-day lockdown, and it's not just coming from the people in custody. I've confirmed this with staff, with officers who are working in those units. They made it clear that 22 hours is the norm. And when staff are available, or if there's enough staff, they might get an additional hour out, which means on the best day, they're spending 21 hours in their cell, which again is very, very concerning. Additional recommendations to be considered by the Department of Corrections and Rehabilitation is one, to implement 12-hour shift. Again, this has also been posted in our staffing report that we did earlier this year. But we really wanted to put it back in this report to reiterate the importance for KCCC specifically. I just want to say one more time that they had surveyed their own staff and found that their staff is very, very interested in trying out the schedule. And I think it would really help with their morale if the department would allow them to give it a shot. And next, to enable all facilities to initiate and process emergency hires on site. It's our understanding that the hiring process is all done through downtown or here. It's all one spot. It's not at the facility, and that has caused issues, particularly for our neighbor islands. And so that was a recommendation that we added in to hopefully help out these facilities and hopefully help out with their staffing shortages. So we'd like to thank KCCC, the staff, and the warden for their time, their professionalism, and their expertise during the tour. They're always very, very welcoming, and we really appreciate their time.
I have one more comment about this. When we met with the warden and the chief of security and others, we learned that the department is now sending all wardens to an NIC training. And that is very, very encouraging. The warden at KCCC really felt he gained a lot by going to this training. But one of the things, it's in Huntsville, I presume it's Huntsville, Texas, that they're going to. And this is where you make connections with other people, other wardens in other states and other jurisdictions. And with those contacts, you can start improving what's happening at your facility. So it's very, very encouraging that Director Johnson has been able to facilitate this, and it's important to him too. I believe the chiefs of security will also be going to training. So
That's fantastic.
Any public comments on the report on the tour and inspection of the island of Hawaii last month? Any further comments from the commissioners? We'll move forward to item number 9 on the agenda. Thank you folks for being with us today. I'm going to open it up now for public comment. The issues that you have that are passionate to you right now for consideration for commission agenda at the next meeting, or something that you want to share with us. Again, we have George over here monitoring hands and digital hands and voices. So I'll just throw it out there.
So Ron has the staff.
Ronald?
Mahalo. Greetings. I'm Ronald Fujiyoshi, the treasurer of Ohana Hopakale, and I want to add my comments to the cold for Sana Munoz, the deputy director. I had a bad cold, and it took a long time for me to shake it off, and so I can really empathize with her, trying to give a report when she's in a coughing spit. I want to really appreciate the commissioners and the excellent staff for the work you're doing. I wanted to go back to some things that I've been talking about in the past about lifers and about how to get longtime prisoners who are elderly out of prison. And I refer back to the photo that I saw twice in a monthly report and in your annual report, where you had Mark Patterson, the chair, and the coordinator, Christine Johnson, in front of a poster that said prison should not be a death sentence. And so I wanted to appeal to all of you to work together with us, and let's see what can be done. I sent a I misunderstood the date of the reassigned commission hearing, so I sent in an email with a bill that is before the New York State Senate, and it's S454. It's an act in relation to parole eligibility for certain incarcerated persons aged 55 or older. And this came out from a organization that was organized by mainly people of people who had been previously incarcerated, the leadership, one of whom I know personally, who I visited in Dublin in Pleasanton Prison. And that organization is called RAPP, R-A-P-P, Release Aging People in Prison. And they were the ones that submitted this bill to the New York State Senate. And I sent it as an example of what is happening, in other places where people are concerned about elderly people. So I wanted to really focus on what we call lifers, but I've been told that there's a distinction between different kind of lifers. So I wanted to focus again, especially on those which are life without parole. Now, we understand that there are certain limitations to programs for people of life without parole. And so they cannot even qualify for programs that help give them incentive to try to get out. And so now that you've had the Task Force 85 completed, I know at least one of your commissioners served on the paroling authority, and I think you have ideas, and we can all think together about how to allow, lifers without parole, whether there's a possibility of getting them out. Like I think some of you in the commission know that there's a model prisoner in Saguaro. His name is Norman Chicos Santiago, that among all of the other prisoners, he's very much respected and honored. And he's been there a long time, and now he's getting health issues. And so people like him should be allowed to get out. There's also other people like Michael Hughes, who wrote that in the appendix of your Hoi Amal program about the lifers up in Saguaro. And so one of the ways we were thinking of if people like him would like to bring part of that lifers program back to Kulani, where you have empty beds, we need to try and get some of these elderly long-term model prisoners out so that you don't have the argument that we need a new prison. So I think we need to take steps now, and Ohana Hopakele would ask that it be on the agenda so we can hear comments from other people on their ideas and their experiences, so that maybe we can work on a bill together or a series of bills that make it easier for lifers, those without parole, and even those on parole to have access to getting out. Like there are all kinds of questions about whether the paroling authority, after a certain number of years, makes a decision on people of life with parole without the presence of that the incarcerated person or his or her lawyer. And so those decisions are being made without their knowledge and their participation. It puts really limitations on what can happen. So I think we lean upon the expertise of people in the commission, the staff, and the public, and provide even an opportunity for the Department of Corrections and Rehabilitation and even the Attorney General's office to add their comments so that we can help work on some bills that will make it easier for people to get out. So thank you very much for this opportunity to testify. Mahalo.
And Ron, Chico Santiago was housed at Kulani before he was sent to the mainland. So we know we have had lifers without parole at Kulani.
Thank you, Ron. That's a good subject that we'll probably discuss as a staff and see how we can bring something presenting. I know there's a lot of our larger states across the country that have done some remarkable legislation that has released or have resolved some of the issues around life without parole. And I know of some examples from California where teenagers were given life without parole. And
Yes.
California let them out, across the board. They did maybe 20 years or 25 years. But anyway, we'll look into that and see how we can do a presentation and help in the thought process and move forward on how we deal with those issues. Thank you, Kyle.
Also, I haven't looked at the law for a long time, but we have in the law that anybody sentenced to life without parole, that the department was supposed to submit their name to the parole board after 20 years for consideration.
Right.
Is that law still on the books? I just haven't looked at it. So I presume it's still, so there's some incentive in our law already to be looking at these people, but unfortunately, rarely are they given a reduction to life with parole.
Thank you, Ron. Hi, Kat. You want to give me a space?
Aloha. I've been getting numerous calls and letters about Hawaii's contract monitor in Saguaro. She's paid $77,000 a year in our money, and her job is to make sure that Saguaro is actually complying with our contract. She apparently cannot stay in her lane, and she has been impacting and making decisions on operations, which is not her kuleana. So I've been hearing from our people in Saguaro that she has interfered with mail, and some of the staff reported to some of our guys that she's been seen in the mailroom and leaving with mail. So if the commission is not getting mail from Saguaro, that's why. She also has been impacting the grievance process, which she has no business in, and she's been signing grievances and denying them. So some of our guys have talked to the staff there who have real problems with her because she refuses. She believes that she told them that when the warden is not there, she is the warden. It's like, no, she is not the warden. So this is really difficult for our people there because they're getting all sorts of conflicting information. And that has been really, really problematic for them because they have grievances, they have medical, they file a thing to go to the medical unit, and all of a sudden, oh, it's gone. They don't know where that went. They lose it. And the guy said, we know where it went. She takes it and she doesn't follow through and give it to the appropriate person who works in operations. Another thing is that Saguaro has P&Ps, policies and procedures, just like Hawaii, that we put on the website. Some are confidential, but a lot are open to the public to read. They're not public, and DCR told me that they don't have them either. I'm like, what? These are our people. The community is paying for this, and yet we have no access to that. So that is a real problem. Many of the guys who are in Saguaro said they've never seen her. They don't know who she is. If she's trying to see if the contract if they're complying with the contract, she needs to actually walk through the facility so people see her and know who she is. But their feeling is that she is CCA's mole and that she hides information so that they're protected. And this is not good for our people. So I'm asking that she comes here apparently once a year to have a meeting with DCR. And we're requesting that the next time she comes, that the commission holds and asks Senator Elefante to hold an information briefing that would be open to the public, even if we can't talk. We would like to see who she is and how she describes her role as the Hawaii contract monitor. So I hope that the commission will do that because our guys are kind of at her mercy. Thank you.
Thank you, Ken.
I do want to note that we are still getting mail from Swarrow.
Okay, good. I told them that I know you've been, onboarding staff, so it's been difficult to respond to every letter.
But it's coming. We're doing it. Yeah, it's coming very soon.
I know, and I appreciate that. But I feel for the families and the guys who are stuck there.
Thank you, Ken, for being their voice. Is anyone else there, verbal or digital hand, have a public testimony? If not, we are going to be leaving after this meeting to visit and tour Maui Community Correctional Center. Our next meeting will be on Oahu, July 10th, 9 o'clock a.m. And we will be touring, well, that'll be at the Leo Papa Kamehameha building on Bear Canyon. You folks know where our office is. And we will be visiting Oahu Community Correctional Center after that meeting. So I appreciate y'all being here.
Real quick, one announcement for those of you who may be interested tonight. There will be a PDF Hawaii special from 7:30 p.m. to 8:30 p.m. live. The department will be there. I believe OCCC's Warden John Schell, myself will be there, and then actually Representative Bella Abulani will be there. And so we'll be discussing the new jail and different issues there. And so if you're able to tune in, I just wanted to let you all know it's tonight at 7:30 p.m.
On Insights. Name of the show.
on Insight.
Okay, well, Sana, if I was able to sign your G1, I would give you time off right now. I'm sorry, I can't do that for you. Representative Bellotti, thank you for being here. Appreciate you folks. Appreciate all the community has been supportive of us and the comments that you've had. And Commissioner, of course, thank you for your time. We'll see you guys all next month. Mahalo. Aloha.